For over 3 millennia, Egypt stood as one of the world's greatest civilizations, ruled by pharaohs who claimed divine descent. But in its final chapter, one ruler stood at the crossroads of cultures, politics, and empires. A woman whose brilliance reshaped the ancient world. This is the story of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC, into the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek Macedonian royal family descended from Ptolemy, one of Alexander the Great's generals. For nearly 300 years, this dynasty ruled Egypt, not as Egyptians, but as Greek monarchs who kept their language, culture, and customs. The Ptolemaic court was infamous for intrigue. Siblings married siblings. Family members fought for the throne. And poisonings were not uncommon. Egypt itself, despite its ancient prestige, was struggling. The Nile's harvests were weakening. Corruption was widespread. And most importantly, Rome's power was rising. By the time Cleopatra was born, Egypt was less a powerful kingdom and more a client state under Roman influence. Cleopatra received one of the finest educations of the ancient world. She studied mathematics, astronomy, geography, philosophy, and politics. Ancient writers claim she spoke at least 7 languages, possibly more, including Egyptian, Greek, Aramaic, Hebrew, Troglodyte, Median, and Parthian. This made her unique. For centuries, no Ptolemaic ruler had even bothered to speak Egyptian. Cleopatra, however, embraced the role of a true, culturally Egyptian pharaoh. She associated herself with the goddess Isis, reinforcing her legitimacy in the eyes of her people. Her intelligence, not her beauty, was her greatest power. Roman historians who hated her admitted her charm lay in her conversation, her wit, and her presence. At 18, Cleopatra inherited the throne alongside her younger brother husband, Ptolemy XIII. But their co-rule quickly collapsed into a struggle for absolute power. Ptolemy's advisors, seeking control, forced Cleopatra into exile in Syria. She refused to accept defeat. With determination and an understanding of geopolitical reality, she sought the support of the most powerful man in the world, Julius Caesar, who had just arrived in Alexandria during Rome's own civil conflict. Cleopatra's legendary entrance to Caesar's quarters is often dramatized as being hidden in a carpet. More likely, she was smuggled in a bed sack to avoid detection. What impressed Caesar was not theatrics, it was diplomacy. She spoke confidently, argued with precision, and understood Rome's complex politics. Caesar supported her claim to the throne, triggering the Alexandrian War, which ended with Cleopatra restored as queen and Ptolemy XIII dead in the Nile. Cleopatra and Caesar formed both a political and personal alliance. In 47 BC, she gave birth to a son, Ptolemy XV Philopator Philometor Caesar, known as Caesarion. In 46 BC, Cleopatra traveled to Rome as Caesar's guest. This was unprecedented. No foreign queen had ever stayed in Rome in such a public way. Her presence scandalized the Roman elite. She represented Eastern opulence, power, and independence, all the things Rome both admired and feared. But her visit ended abruptly. In 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated, plunging Rome into chaos once again. Cleopatra, without her protector, returned to Egypt. After Caesar's death, Rome was divided between Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, and Mark Antony, Caesar's trusted general. In 41 BC, Antony summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus to question her loyalty. She arrived not as a subject, but as a queen, on a gold-encrusted barge, dressed as the goddess Isis, surrounded by music and incense. Ancient historians describe Antony as captivated instantly. But Cleopatra's motivations were strategic. She needed a powerful Roman ally to protect Egypt. Antony needed Egypt's wealth to challenge Octavian. Their partnership became one of the most famous political alliances and romances in history. Cleopatra bore Antony 3 children: Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus. In 34 BC, Antony and Cleopatra held the dramatic ceremony known as the Donations of Alexandria. Antony granted vast eastern territories to Cleopatra and their children. To Octavian, this was outrageous. He framed Cleopatra as a manipulative foreign queen who had bewitched Antony and threatened Rome itself. Propaganda was powerful, and Octavian used it ruthlessly. He declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. In 31 BC, off the coast of Greece, the fleets of Octavian faced those of Antony and Cleopatra in the Battle of Actium. It was a disaster. Disease, starvation, and desertion weakened their forces. When Cleopatra's ships retreated, Antony followed, leaving the battle lost. They fled to Egypt, knowing Octavian would pursue them. In 30 BC, Octavian invaded Egypt. Antony, believing Cleopatra dead, fell on his sword. Mortally wounded, he was brought to her mausoleum, where he died in her arms. Cleopatra realized Octavian intended to parade her through Rome in chains. She refused to be a symbol of his triumph. On August 12, 30 BC, Cleopatra took her own life. The method is debated, an asp poison, or a toxic ointment, but ancient sources agree it was a deliberate act of sovereignty. With her death, Egypt became a Roman province. The age of the pharaohs ended forever. For centuries, Cleopatra's image was shaped by her enemies. Roman historians portrayed her as a seductress, a manipulator, a threat to Rome. But modern scholarship reveals a far different woman. A ruler who spoke to her people in their own language. A strategist navigating the power struggles of the ancient world. A queen who fought to preserve her kingdom's independence against the greatest empire on earth. Cleopatra was not merely the last pharaoh. She was one of the most extraordinary leaders of antiquity. Her story endures, because she refused to be forgotten. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient history, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us for more stories from the ancient world.